Good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to describe the structure and importance of a lesson plan, which topic is Smart Life Skills. This topic is very interesting for the students of second baccalaureate year because it's focused in their experience and their relatives. The objectives involve the main skills as reading, writing, speaking, and listening. In the reading skill, students will be able to identify key about parts of an essay, like the introduction, body, and conclusion. Taking account the writing activity, the students will be able to write a short essay about an environmental issue. Also, in the speaking key, they will be able to describe lifestyles and speculate about healthy conditions in past tense. And in the listening skill, the students are focused in identifying key information expressed by the speakers in a conversation about environmental issues. On the other hand, the use of the methods and strategies is very important to develop a class plan. For this reason, in this class, I choose to develop this class the lexical approach and communicative language teaching method. Each one is related with the objectives and activities that I'm going to use in this class. For example, communicative language teaching deals with the communication of their ideas in a real situation. With these objectives, I choose some strategies like understanding the concept of a thesis statement or to identify it in an essay. I have to give some clues to make easier for the students. For example, explaining that the thesis statement is that involves in a whole paragraph. With the next strategy about using sequence connectors such as first or all in summary to organize the ideas of a text. For instance, to give a sequence, I can show the specific words such as first, second, third, next, then, and finally. To reinforce the topic and ideas, I'm going to use visual like photos and image. To start the anticipatory set, I'm going to draw some clues on the board, and I ask the students think about their own lifestyle and their relatives. For example, parents, siblings, grandparents, and other members of their families. So students have to answer them the following key questions. What is a smart lifestyle? Write the answers in a cloud in the next questions. Do you have a smart lifestyle? Ask some volunteers students to talk about those. And the last question, do you close relatives have a smart lifestyle? Why or why do they do? They write the answers in the other cloud. This activity helps the students to express their ideas freely and practice their speaking skill to improve their pronunciation. Continuing with the description of a class plan, I'm going to talk about the part of the modeling. This part is very important because of the teacher set the main instructions to develop a class. In this class, with the modeling, I am going to explain briefly the meaning of a survey because the students in the activity have to make a survey with their classmates. Also, I'm going to ask the students to read a short essay in which need to understand the parts of an essay, and they have to make a similar one too using the given model. In the part of the guide activities, the students usually develop the activities following the guide of the teacher. In this case, I'm going to ask the students think in their personal answer for each questions that they have in the activity book, and I'm going to ask them to check the corresponding column in the chart. In the next activity, I'm going to invite the students to pre-visualize the essay by looking at the title. I'm going to assign some reasonable time for students to do an individual and silent reading of the first two paragraphs by focused attention on the words involved. Afterwards, they have read the 4 definitions to match them with words from the text. In these activities, they take note if it's necessary because they need to review again the information of the other activities. On the other hand, the independence activities are deal with all activities that the students make alone without guide of the teacher. In this class, the students remember the explanation of the teacher and using the help of the flashcards like supplementary materials, develop the activity in their notebooks. And they stand up and go around the class asking their classmates the questions, for it is necessary that the teacher assign them some reasonable time to complete this survey and motivates students to speak English while they collect information for their classmates. They complete the activity showing the result to the whole class. In the last activity, they have to identify and complete the exercise about the organization of a paragraph. With these activities, the students have the opportunity to practice their speaking and writing skills, and also this is a useful way to expand their vocabulary. For this class, I'm going to use 2 supplementary materials as support to develop the class in a better way. For example, the flashcard with colorful image, it gets students' attention and they understand the topic and the activities of the lesson. As positive aspect in this class, I have mentioned the active participation of the students. Students are involved in it during the whole class. Maybe a negative aspect can be that all students can participate during the class activities. Finally, I think that to work with the class plans must be necessary include more supplementary materials to work the activities because the students enjoy their learning if they use other interesting tools. Thanks.